Welcome to the International Iberian Nanotechnology Laboratory and to the information session dedicated to the 2024 calls of the European Partnership CHIPS Joint Undertaking. This event is promoted by the Portuguese Foundation for Science and Technology and the National Innovation Agency, members of the Portuguese delegation to the partnership. To officially inaugurate the session, we have the pleasure of welcoming on stage the Portuguese Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education, Elvira Fortunato.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to acknowledge the representatives of INL in the persons of Professor Madalena Alves and also Higino, that belongs to the Council of INL. Also, I would like to thank our guests. Anton, let me see if I'm able to say your name. Anton Shikov from the CHIPS GU office. And also I would like to thank the presence of Elizabeth Steinmetz from EPOS. It is a real pleasure to have you here. I guess this is the first time that you are visiting INL. And at the end of this working session, I invite you for having a visit to the infrastructure, because it's really a very important infrastructure that we have not only in Portugal, but also we have in Spain. I guess that I don't need to convince you that this strategy in the area of semiconductors is quite important. As you know, the Portuguese government has signed an approval and a commitment for the next 4 years with a budget of 121 million euros concerning the CHIPS initiative. So we have a very strong commitment in this area, especially because we believe and we know that we have all the capabilities installed in Portugal to succeed and to apply for and to have approved projects, not only at national terms, but also at an European level. As you know, the European Commission has mobilized around 43 billion of euros, especially in order to reinforce this sector in Europe, and not only to reinforce in terms of infrastructures, laboratories, organizations, but especially in terms of retaining the talent for this area. So one of the important topics that we are now looking, and one of the problems associated with the semiconductor industry, is not only to have a factory, 2 or 3 factories inside Europe, but also to have talent, to have skilled persons, to have engineers in these areas. And also this is a commitment and a ask that I will make to the universities, to the polytechnic institutions, because we need to qualify more persons in this area, because the idea is to retain this talent and all these persons in Portugal. So in terms of what Portugal can offer, or are in a good position concerning this specific area, I just would like to mention 4 main areas, but I guess during the day we will have all the opportunity to discuss, not only to see what the Commission planned in terms of the calls, in terms of the strategy for semiconductor industry, but also at the end, and since we have here, I guess, the Portuguese community that is working in this area, so it's quite important to work to each other, to perform networking, because what we want to have is strong teams that are able to apply for all these projects, not small teams, but large teams and good teams. So concerning the main 4 key areas that we have identified in Portugal, so our idea is to strengthen the specialized training and specific skills in the area of microelectronics and semiconductors. This is also one, as I mentioned previously, this is one of the main global challenges facing this particular sector. To increase the national ecosystem, especially for chip design, so we are very well positioned in terms of chip design. Advanced packaging, this is also an area where Portugal has already an extensive knowledge and also an international presence, so we want to reinforce the area of advanced packaging. And finally, we want to increase also the technology transfer in emerging areas, namely, for example, photonic circuits, co-integration of emerging technologies, flexible and sustainable electronics, as well as large-scale sensor manufacturing. So the idea is not only to reinforce what we have already done in a very good way in the past, but also we need to think for the next 10, for the next 20 years, where we want to stay, what kind of new materials or even new technologies we need to study, we need to look, because we cannot stay for the next maybe 20 years only with silicon. So I guess also in this way we will support not only the activities where we proved already that we are in a good position for this work, but also it is quite important to see a little bit ahead for the next 10 or 20 years what we want to do and what will be the future, especially for these new emergent technologies. Also taking into account sustainability, not only in terms of materials, but also in terms of the technologies. We need to look in both areas, the materials we are using and also the technologies that we are using for processing the sensors, the integrated circuits. So I hope that we will have today a fruitful discussion. We will learn a lot. All your doubts will be, I guess, will be answered by the responsibles. And also from the government side, we have done what was possible to be also fully aligned, because we are quite proud to be European and we want to be aligned with the main decisions and also with the main strategies that Europe is asking for the member states. So thank you very much. And again, thanks especially for those ones that are coming from outside Portugal. Thank you and welcome to Portugal and INL. Thank you.
The European Chips Act was designed to strengthen Europe's competitiveness and resilience in semiconductor technologies, aiming to achieve both the digital and green transitions effectively. Within this framework, the CHIPS joint undertaking emerges as a central force that is instrumental in the implementation of the mission. To delve into the opportunities available under this initiative, we welcome on stage the CHIPS JU Program Officer, Anton Chichkov.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to visit Portugal. I have, I think, more slides that are needed, but I will leave them so you can use them afterwards. I'll try to go fast through them. If you have questions, we can go back and discuss calmly some of the points. Now, as announced, I represent CHIPS Joint Undertaking. It's one of the three forms of public-private partnerships. Normally, there are co-programmed, co-funded, and GUs. The GU's difference with the other two is that actually we own our budget, we have our governance, and we execute the calls. For the other two types of PPPs, the Commission normally does this. They make the program together with the industry, but calls, budget, everything stays with the Commission. So, as I said, joint undertakings are separate legal entities and they have their own governance. Chips GU is especially targeting the electronic components and systems. Most of the calls under Horizon related to electronics will be through us, and all of the calls related to the CHIPS Act, first pillar, will be through us. That was the signature of the single basic act that establishes us in 13th of September last year. And for the CHIP Act, as you probably already know, there are 3 pillars. Pillar 1, Chips for Europe initiative, then Pillar 2, security and supply, and monitoring and crisis response in Pillar 3. We are under Pillar 1. We execute practically the Pillar 1 of the Chips for Europe initiative. Now, who participates with us? Normally, the member states, of course, then the countries from the European Economic Area, and we have associated countries. You have Israel, Turkey, and hopefully soon UK. For the moment, they are still in process of becoming an associated country for us. Now, what do we have as budget? We have for the Horizon Europe about 1.4 billion, and capacity building from Digital Europe another 1.4 billion. This is related to the activities covered under the Chips for Europe initiative. And then we have another 1.3 billion that is not under the Chips for Europe initiative. This is the continuation of what was under KDT GU, and all together with, of course, with the industry and with the national authorities, we mobilize something like 11 billion euro. Now, the non-initiative calls. Non-initiative calls for this year are already open. We have several topics, and you see the budgets here about these topics. We have normally 2 open topics, one under the EA action and one under RE action. These are topic 1 here and topic 1 here. Research and innovation action. And then this year we have 3 focus topics, 2 under the innovation action and 1 under research and innovation action. And there is something new for us. For the first time, we are participating in collaboration calls, and this is a call for collaboration with Korea. And this is a very specific call on heterogeneous integration. There are 6 million for this. These calls are open. This call is only one phase, so it closes 14th of May and will be evaluated. All of the others are 2 phases, so 14th of May is closing the first phase, project outline, and then September closes the full project proposal. Evaluation will be end of October, and by beginning of December, you will have the funding decision. Now, normally, what is EA for us? Probably you also know this, but I'll just repeat rapidly. EA, these are projects that are closer to the industry. They are higher TRLs. They are almost products, so TRLs 5 to 8. Normally, consortium is led by an industry partner. Not necessarily, but normally it's led by an industry partner. And they develop innovative technologies, but they also can reuse technologies in an innovative way. So existing mature technologies, if they are used in a different area on an innovative way, is also pretty valid participation for this call. So we also expect a pretty significant impact for the industry in these projects. There should be some short to mid-term economic value created by these kind of projects. Now, if we are talking about the focus topics under EA, they have the same characteristics as the general EA, but they are very specific, and their industry plays a big role defining them. So if you want focus topics, talk to the industry associations. She's here, so she can help you. Risk 5 is one of the important topics for Europe. We would like to develop this platform, and especially Risk 5 related to the automotive industry and usage of Risk 5 platform as an automotive platform. So the effort is to have an automotive reference hardware platform, should be open source, should be also compatible with quite some widely agreed hardware abstraction layers, so it can support then the software layers in the vehicle. And the expected platform should be targeted for commercial use, and of course should answer the industry standards, especially for quality and safety. When we automotive, quality and safety is very important. Okay, then the other focus topics is kind of connected to this one. This is the software layer on top of the hardware platform. This is the software-defined vehicle. And there we're talking about middleware and API. They should be able to work with the hardware that is defined in the previous topic, and they should provide to the upper layers of the software all the capabilities of the hardware. It has to be also a modular and open source platform, open architecture, and should support the APIs for the vehicle of the future. Now, the RIA, similar to what the ES are, but it's the lower TRLs. The consortium normally is led by academy. Doesn't mean that it has to be, but it's most of the cases the case. Then, here you're looking for innovative technologies. They are not close to the market, so you're looking a bit further in the future. There should be a demonstration of these innovative approaches, and there should be already an idea how, through the applications, you will address the societal challenges in the program. So, value and potential for realistic lab environment that is reproducing the targeted applications, and having some deployment that plans that are showing what is the possible valorization in the ECS ecosystem in Europe. Now, this focus topic in this area, this is sustainable and green manufacturing, focusing on materials, and they're trying to use the environmentally friendly materials, minimizing waste, and working on the circular industry. So more efficient, cost-effective products and electronic waste recycling. Now, the joint call with Korea. This is the call that I can tell you least, because we are just defining it. It will be entirely funded by the GU, no national participation. It will be 100% funded. And there are some very specific conditions related to the participation of the South Korean part. As you have seen, we have about 6 million there, so we're expecting 4 or 5 not so big projects. But the call is open. Please have a look and please apply. Now, if we're coming to some more practical things, funding rates in all these calls, the EA, because it's more industry related, the large enterprises get the lowest, 20%. Then the SMEs get 30%, university and other non-profit taking 35%. This is only half of your funding. This is only what the GU will give. The national authorities normally fill this part up, and especially for universities, they can get to 100% because there is no way they can support some of the weight themselves. The focus topics have slightly different percentages, and the RIA has different percentages. Their SMEs and the universities take 35%. This is the Korean call. There, as I said, everything is 100% funded, and it's all GU funding. Now, some of the dates, I already mentioned some. The project outline phase is closing 14th of May. The deadline for the full project proposal submission is 17th of September. We will be evaluating end of October. This means that PEB can take the funding decision in end November. We are starting grant preparation early December. And the start of the projects can be as early as the selection or even earlier, but this is on your own risk. But normally what happens is that they begin somewhere April, May. Especially if you have German partners, this will be more May, June than earlier, because most of the countries can pay retroactively. We also can pay retroactively, but Germany and Sweden, no. They can only pay after they sign the national contracts. And they managed to sign national contracts beginning of May, so normally most of the consortia with German and Swedish participation start May, June. But you can start in October or November, it's up to you. Then, how does the process work for submitting the proposal and then eventually evaluation and everything? Once you submit your proposal, the office have to do the admissibility and eligibility check. It means that you submitted all the documents in all necessary templates in the correct language and everything. And then we have evaluation by experts. The project outline that we are talking about here is evaluated by 2 experts. And it's not really evaluation, it's more assessment. They are looking into the idea, they are looking into the capability of the consortium, but we are aware that this is not the final proposal, and it's not the final consortium. So what you get from there is more kind of an advice, how you can improve the proposal so the full project proposal is ready and can go for funding. This feedback you normally get from the national authorities. We give them the results from the assessment, the reports of the experts, and they pass it to the consortium. Now, this is a gating phase. It's not really a full-fledged evaluation, but if the proposals are so bad and there is no time until September to make them full-fledged proposal, then they will be under threshold and they are not invited to submit a full project proposal. Full project proposal is not an open call, it's a call per invitation. So only the proposals that pass here will be invited to submit full project proposal. Similar here, we do the admissibility and eligibility check. We have an evaluation by expert, but this is much more serious evaluation. There are 4 experts per proposal. There are sub-panels that are calibrating horizontally the evaluation results. And there is a final panel that makes a ranking. And this ranking goes to the Public Authority Board, where the representatives are here. They have to work a lot there to do the final ranking. This is important to know because as a difference from Horizon Europe and other funding mechanisms, the ranking of the experts is not the final ranking on which the funding is happening. With us, the Public Authority Board have all the power to make their own ranking. They can skip completely the ranking of the experts and start from scratch if they want to. Never happened, but they can. And then based on this ranking and with available GEO funding and national funding, pretty tough discussion and funding decision is taken. Then this is communicated to the coordinator, and then we go in the final stage where we start the grant agreement preparation. Based on what has come from here, not all of the countries have funding, not all of the partners have been extremely careful in planning their things in proposal phase. So here now everything has to be cleaned up. You have to be clear what you want to do. You have to be sure that with the funding that is on the table, you can achieve it. So these negotiations go something like 4 months. And after that, again, back to the PEB with the final funding figures and the final description of the action to reconfirm the decision and to sign the grant. Now, the signature of the grant has nothing to do with the start date, except in the cases of Germany and Sweden, as I said. And few useful links. Please check our work program. Normally, in terms of topics, it will not change. It's approved last year. These are the topics that are open. There's nothing that can go wrong. However, national authorities are changing their position. So you have to find there the national eligibilities and the national budget, and they gradually change. Some countries don't manage to provide them. Initially, they provide them, and then they correct them. So please check the work program, especially on the part of the national eligibilities. That was for the non-initiative call. Now for the initiative call. Initiative call is related to the CHIP Act actions. So the CHIP Act, or the CHIP initiative, what we started, and it's already open, actually it's already closed, 29th of February we closed them, are the calls for pilot lines. So we had 4 calls for pilot lines open and closed. We are now entering into evaluation. The idea is that these pilot lines will be facilities that will develop new technologies, will be experimental facilities where industry can try their ideas and see if it works. Of course, they start with equipment, materials, tools, and services. Of course, they serve the ecosystem. And the idea is after they are tried and they are mature enough, they have to go to the industry that can commercialize them and use them. That's really only the beginning of the Chip for Europe initiative. This is a slide of the Commission, so they have also the Chip Fund that can support these users in this. And as I said, we have 4 open calls, and this is only the European part of the money. There should be the same amount on the national side. So we have a pilot line on 2 nanometer. We have a pilot line on fully depleted SOI. We have the pilot line on heterogeneous integration, and we have a pilot line on wide bandgap materials. Proposals, not yet pilot lines. It will take years. These are long projects. They are huge projects, and they are long projects. They will be for more than 5 years. They will even breach the next program. So, what else after these 4 pilot lines? In the second half of the year, we will launch a 5th pilot line, and we will launch a quantum pilot line. So the 5th will be pretty similar to these 2, while the quantum will be kind of a big project. It's not really a pilot line in the sense as the other 2. Then, what else in the second half of the year? Design platform. We will need to have some way of getting to these pilot lines, and not only to the pilot lines, also getting to the industry that is already in Europe. So we will need a platform, design platform, as somebody already mentioned. These tools are normally US-based. This is not easy to get, and it's extremely expensive. So Europe would like to have a cloud-based platform with all the needed tools, negotiated on European level, so a bit more affordable, and with some preferential access for SMEs. So we have the possibilities to go through here or go directly to the industry and get your prototypes, get your, let's say, future products before you go into a mass production. What else? Again, second half of the year, we will have, and if my slide works, the competence centers. And the competence centers will be another link from the users to the EDL tools and to the pilot lines, because they will have the possibilities to help even better SMEs and universities how to get to the necessary technology and to the necessary tools. And they have to be busy with skills. And of course, later on, this design platform has to support quantum and photonics and all of this. So that's practically the full picture that we are trying to build in the Chips for Europe initiative. And it's kind of a round picture. If we manage, it should work fine. But it's a big challenge. especially the part on the design platform, and of course, competence centers now. We'll see. Quantum, photonics, all of it. But that's the fun. That's why we're here. So, how does the pilot line proposal look like? It's not a normal proposal. It's completely different. Why? Because it's a huge size and it's funded by 3 sources. So we fund them from Horizon Europe, we fund them from Digital Europe, and there is also national money involved. This is not trivial. We're doing it for the first time. So a pilot line proposal will have a procurement part that will have to take care of facilities and equipment. Then we'll have an R&D and I part that will have to work with what do you want to develop in this pilot line. So materials, recipes, methods, technologies, methodologies, whatever. So what do you want to achieve there? And of course, once you know what you want here, you still want to give access and you want to be able to operate this pilot line. So SMEs can come or universities can come and try this. So there will be also an operation part. These 3 parts are funded from different sources. So we have calls and grants. For each part, there is first a call for the complete proposal. And it goes in the call for expression of interest on our website, actually, because the tools do not support this. It's a new thing. Horizon Europe tools are not fit for it. So we have the full project proposal on our website. The part of the procurement is also in the same proposal, and it doesn't end up with a grant. It ends up with a hosting agreement, which decides which company or which RTO will host the pilot line, or several RTOs, they can be distributed pilot lines, and joint procurement agreement. The joint procurement agreement is an agreement how we will buy equipment, because half of the equipment will be owned by the GU, half of the equipment will be owned by national authorities. So there is definitely need of an agreement before that. R&D and I, we have a call for proposals under Horizon Europe. It's the most suitable tool for R&D and I. And after the evaluation, this will end up with a Horizon Europe grant. And then operation activities of the pilot line will be a call for proposal under Digital Europe, and it will end up with a Digital Europe grant. So you have 2 grants and a contract, but all of this is one project. It's one pilot line. It's just a bunch of paperwork to be able to get this amount of money from the right sources. Okay, competence centers. If you remember the square on the corner there, this is one of the calls that we are opening second half of the year. Actually, on a national level, it's already open. So things are going. I hope in Portugal also. What the competence center needs to do, or what are they? There will be at least 1 per member state. Of course, if the member states want to have one, you're not obliged. Then we'll co-fund it, as most of the things that the GU does. We always co-fund with the national authorities. It has to support the industry and the public sector, have to be able to give access to the design platforms and the pilot lines, and I would say not only, but also to the industry. Should be focused on semiconductor skills. There are competence centers and excellence centers and whatever centers in Europe now all over the place, but these ones have to be semiconductor. And then they have to work together. They have to make a network. Okay, so they have to be specialized on something, and we don't impose it. You decide what you want to be specialized on. They have to be able to work with the design platform and pilot lines, as I said. They have to do technology transfers. They have to help SMEs to get to these technologies and to work with them. And very importantly, they should work on skills. As you know, in all the world, in our area, there is shortage of skills. It's a big problem. So we hope this will be one of the things that will help. A lot of training and addressing the shortage of skills. Now, as I said, they have to be a network. So if you have in Portugal one such a center, most probably it will be focused on one area or two areas or three areas, but it will not be focused on all possible areas of the semiconductor industry. So if you have a question and you need to get to a technology or to material or to equipment, you doesn't need to go all over Europe to look which competence center can help you. You go to your own competence center and they should know where to connect and how to connect you with the necessary competence center in the rest of Europe to help you finish what you want to finish. Okay, this is a slide that I borrowed from the Commission, and you see promote the chip fund. We don't deal with the chip fund, but okay, please promote it. And then promoting services and success stories. Entities that can be a competence center, it can be an existing entity, it can be a single organization or coordinated group, and they can be started from scratch. And the users are actually the community in your country for the electronic components and systems. Funding model, as I said, we'll fund it equally from the national and the European side. Okay, not exactly true. We will fund it equally if the national authorities don't want to give more, because they can give more than we can. We can give maximum 1 million per year. National authorities can give more if they want. And this is valid for 4 years. Okay, service-oriented, I already mentioned. Selection process. As I said, the part on the national authorities is already open. Each country will select their champions. They will communicate to us who are their champions. We will check the quality of the proposals, and the funding decision will be the combination of two. But I would say the leading here are the national authorities. So in the coffee break, please talk to your minister. Lobby a lot, because here will be the decision. And yeah, we will open the call 6th of July. We will close it 17th of September, and the evaluation will go on together with the non-initiative part. So by the end of the year, there will be a funding decision. And as I said, you can start before that your activity, and the costs will be reimbursed. Then next year, this will be one wave of competence centers. Next year, there may be a second call if many countries don't manage to make their competence centers and they want to have a second shot. Okay, planning. I got always worried when I'm going to this part of the presentation, because it's mainly showing you how much things we need to do in the CHIPS joint undertaking, but it also shows you how many opportunities you have this year and next year to submit proposals. If we're talking about the non-initiative call, it's based on the work program of 24. 6th of February, the project outline was open and will close on 14th of May. The call for the collaboration with Korea is only one stage, so closing 14th of May is really closing this call. There will be evaluation phase and there will be a funding decision. And then we start in grant preparation. Somewhere here we will be signing the contract, and then the projects are starting. For the rest, the normal topics, not the Korean one, here will be the closure of the call for project outline. We will assess this from 10th to 21st of June. The Korean call is a bit earlier because of limitations on the Korea side. We will be taking the decision beginning of July, and then immediately the call for a full project proposal will open. 17th September we are closing, 21st to 25th of October we will be evaluating, and 5th of November should be the funding decision. Now, if we go to the initiative calls, As I said, they are first based on the work program of 23. They are from last year calls. The call for hosting consortium is opened from 1st of December, actually all of the calls. The tools, however, we opened only in 1st of February and closed them on 29th. Now we will be evaluating in March. Funding decision will be end of the month, and then joint procurement and hosting agreement will be signed, and they will start procuring equipment and building capacity, and we will be going to the gap phase, the preparation phase of the 2 grants. Somewhere, hopefully October, we will start the project monitoring. Some of these pilot lines, however, will start actually from 1st of December, and will claim cost from then. So these are 4 pilot lines, 3 calls each, so we are evaluating at the moment 12 calls. Now, if I collapse this so there is a bit more space, we go in the second half of the year. And the second half of the year, the first thing that we mentioned is the competence centers. National procedures are running. We expect them to be finished by end of May, somewhere in June. We are opening the call together with a non-initiative call. We are closing it together with a non-initiative call and evaluating together. So the centers can start somewhere here, somewhere in November, or even earlier if you want to. What else? Design platform. The design platform will be similar to the calls. There will be 3 parallel calls, and very similar to the pilot lines. So there will be a call under Digital Europe and call for grant for procurement with joint procurement agreement and hosting agreement. And the timing is the same as the other 2. And then we have the 5th pilot line that hopefully is forming right now, because there is no time to start forming here, and the call for quantum. And if I put next to it also the non-initiative part, that's how the year will look like. Yeah, exactly. Exactly my thinking. I'm really not sure how we'll manage this, but okay. And I think that was it that I had for you. Yep. Questions, or should I run? Ah, okay. Sure.
There are a call on DG Prosperity to open what they call Advanced Materials Academy, where the CHIPS Act semiconductors are included. So it's looking for talents, it's looking to look what we need for the prosperity of the industry of the future, where the universities are not trivial courses that universities gives, and how this will interact, because it looks like that you are making something that you are including, how this will match with the academy that will be formed on this area.
Is this a national initiative?
No, it's an European initiative.
There are more players under the CHIP Act. CHIP Act is a big thing. We are actually on the first pillar. The second pillar will be capacity building. I don't know exactly in which of the 2 pillars this is going. We will work on skills, for sure. There will be part on the competence centers that will be of skills. Yes. Okay, a new PPP, and then it's not with us. Then it's a separate budget.
Maybe you are addressing the new partnership on advanced materials that is going to start hopefully still this year. That is a new initiative. That's an additional initiative. Yeah. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much.
It's a parallel activity to ours. Yeah.
Yes. But there's a lot of overlap.
A lot of synergies.
If it comes to the semiconductor manufacturing materials. Yeah.
I fully agree. I'm not taking it personally because the GU is actually a product of this. So the Council of Europe and the European Parliament, together with the European Commission, decide how they will lead the program. We are executive office that work with what is given to us to work. So we execute the first pillar, and we don't have a word into the political shaping of this. So, but I fully agree with you. That should be, there are programs for synergies between the public partner-private partnerships, and in fact, there is a pressure from the Commission to put us working together, but it's not easy. It's not easy. We can try to make a common call. That's the most natural way to work together, but it's not easy to transfer budgets. It's not easy to monitor these projects. We have tried with Clean Sky, and we have tried also with the EMI, the medical initiative, and it's extremely difficult. But we'll continue to try. We're a horizontal GU. We provide technologies for everybody, so we will continue to try to work with them. So we're trying to break the silos. Yes, please.
Regarding the design platform, could you elaborate on the interaction with Europractice?
Okay. The design platform, lately, we started thinking of it as a bigger brother of the Europractice, because Europractice is a very good example how such a design platform can work, but now it's really very small. It's targeted to universities and doesn't have the scale that it needs to support practically all European industry and universities. So we're trying to build on this experience and go broader. Are they going to coexist? I don't know. Or the design platform will practically integrate the Europractice. Not sure how it will turn out. Let's see how successful we are with the design platform. I have to say, it's not a simple thing. It's definitely not a simple thing. But the good thing is Europractice is there. It works for years. We know it works, so we can build on this experience. Any other questions? Okay, I got off easy this time. Thank you.
Portugal is deeply committed to contributing to the joint resilience of the European Union, having established a national strategy for semiconductors with strategic lines of action in innovative areas. This initiative enables Portuguese solid participation in the new European tools, thus providing a unique opportunity for institutional, industrial, and research cooperation. To explore the national co-funding mechanisms available, we start by welcoming on stage the Portuguese delegate to the CHIPS JU from FCT, Mário Amaral.
Muito boa tarde a todos. Good afternoon. So I will be presenting, together with Afonso, the co-funding mechanisms that basically complement the funding that comes from the European Union that Anton just presented to us. So what you'll see is more or less the continuation of the presentation of Anton, but of course focusing on the national mechanisms. And before I start my presentation, just wanted to tell you that from the Portuguese delegation on the Foundation for Science and Technology, we have myself and Filipa Coelho, who is also here with us, and the two of us, we implement the co-funding mechanism at the National Funding Agency. And as you'll see, it covers mostly the non-initiative calls that Anton presented, that started with in his presentation, and the competence center. So this is, let's say, the frame of my presentation. I will start just by recalling where we come from. So Portugal has been participating in this area, in these joint undertakings, even before the Excel and the key digital technologies. In fact, we participated in Artemis and ENIAC, for those that still remember those partnerships. But what I'm bringing here today is let's say the figures of the participation in Excel and the key digital technologies. This slide is just to show you that from 2014 to 2022, we have at national level co-funded about close to 9 million euros. And this has leveraged a total funding, let's say a total participation, counted in terms of total costs of roughly 30 million euros. So this is basically the baseline of what we have been able to fund and to support all through these years, and this is what we intend to continue to support in the non-initiative part. This is just, again, to show you a little bit of how we have come so far, starting with the co-funding levels in 2014, and then going all the way to 2022-23. And this slide is just to show you, just for your reference, really, the projects in Excel and KDT where we have been working, which have, these are international consortia which have Portuguese partners. And you'll see this information is publicly available. You'll see that we have been strong on cyber-physical systems, on cybersecurity, on applications in manufacturing. There were also many applications in the areas of biomedicine, and more recently in artificial intelligence, edge AI, and applications in the automotive sector as well. So for the national co-funding mechanisms, for the non-initiative part, and for the competence centers, which is what I'm going to present here, of course, let's say the bedrock for our co-funding is the national strategy on semiconductors that our minister has just presented in her speech today. And for the non-initiative part, we'll be latching basically on the objectives that you see emboldened in the objectives. So the idea is to continue to boost the national scientific and technological system, to involve industry. This is also an important part of the non-initiative projects. And to do this, of course, linking the research to the productive capacity. Within the competence centers, as you can see, it's one of the strategy, one of the goals of the strategy is to have a competence center, and this is in fact one of the axes of the strategy in order to strengthen specialized training in these areas. And I'm trying to, okay. So coming to the research and innovation calls, so this is just so that you see where we have been through the Key Digital Technologies Partnership. For the 2024 SHIPS joint undertaking, for the non-initiative calls that Anton presented previously, we'll have a considerable increase in the budget available. It will go to 3.5 million euros. And the co-funding, let's say the co-funding conditions will be very similar to those that we have been applying in Excel and KDT, in fact. So there's no big surprises there. You will find actually the more detailed information once we publish the co-funding mechanism call in the FCT website, where you will also find all the important details. But perhaps the most important thing that you need to remember are the deadlines that Anton just mentioned this afternoon, and the co-funding mechanism will basically follow on the process for awarding the grants that Anton presented in his diagrams. So this is for the non-initiative calls. For the competence centers, so as Anton explained, the process for selecting a competence center is twofold, has two parts. The first part has to do with the national pre-selection, and this is what we'll initiate as soon as possible. We are very, very, very close to finalize the call text, and it will be published very soon. Basically, in a nutshell, what we want to do is to pre-select one consortium, one consortium, and it has to have, let's say, it has to cover the whole country. And for this, we will establish as a qualifying limit that the consortium needs to have at least 3 independent national entities. And other than that, we'll have some evaluation criteria that, as you can see here, the 3 first evaluation criteria elements are basically borrowed from the international call that you already have published in the work program for the SHIPS JU. And we have added an additional evaluation criteria, which is basically to shape the competence center in the strategic specialization areas that we want to promote, of course, perfectly aligned with the national strategy. Once the national consortium is pre-selected, this consortium is able to apply to the European selection, which is run by the SHIPS joint undertaking. And then, if it is selected by the SHIPS joint undertaking, it will have the possibility to start its operations, and the funding will be up to 1 million euros from FCT as national co-funding, and up to 1 million euros from the SHIPS JU. So this is basically what Anton presented. In terms of timings, the implementation of the national pre-selection we are estimating that it may be closed by end of May, so just in time for the starting of the European call that will start on the 8th of July. And the exact dates will depend on the date when we present the call, but we expect it to be very soon. And that's all I have for you today. Any questions that you might have, I think we can cover them after the presentation by Afonso during the discussion panel. Okay, thank you very much.
And now, time to explore the calls within the initiative. Please welcome the delegate and national contact point for Horizon Europe from ANI, Afonso Duarte.
So, good afternoon, everybody. So I'm going to speak about the SHIPS joint undertaking initiative calls, like Mario was pointing out. So we are focusing here on the Pillar 1 from the CHIPS Act, and more specifically, we will be, at ANI, we'll be dealing with the calls and the support for design platform and pilot lines. And this picture was already shown before, and I'm just highlighting here where we are going to be active in terms of ANI. So we'll be focusing on the support of the development of the national projects for design platform and pilot lines. These 2 follow-ups will be done very close by ANI in terms of supporting the community that is participating in these large projects. When we think about the pilot lines, and this was already well before, so I'm not going to be spending much time here, but we are thinking about all the development of technological capacity for innovation in the chips, and specifically thinking about the support to SMEs, to startups, the new manufacturing processes, prototyping capabilities, and also on the training of the workforce. This is something we are going to be working and be following very close by. In terms of calls, we had already the 4 calls deadline last week, so the 4 CHIPS CPL topics that were closed. We have a new one that was indicated a while ago, is still being under debate what's going to be the topic, but it will be opening in July and closing in September. So we're also following the community that is interested in applying for this topic and providing the support for the Portuguese consortium that's going to be formed. In terms of the design platform, of course, what the Commission wants, what SHIPS JU wants, is to have a cloud-based virtual environment that's going to be available throughout Europe and is going to support the community. And this basically is going to be a one-shop entry for startups and small and medium enterprises, thinking about the support to research in cross-sectional technologies and support to open source software, specifically in RISC-V. So in terms of calls, and quickly, we're going to have the call open in July, and the deadline is going to be in September. Again, we are going to provide support in terms of the organization at the national level and also at the part of the funding. And when we think about the funding, and this is really where we want to transmit the message, we are now working on the mechanism that is going to support at national level, the national organizations that are going to be part and need to be co-funded, like Anton was pointing out. So we have the national co-fund, and we are currently working and hopefully finalizing soon in the next couple of weeks, finalizing the documents that will be outside. So if you follow any web pages, you can find all the information there soon. And of course, you can always drop us a line and ask how the process is going on and how we can support you to apply for your applications. And basically, that was the message I want to give you. We have my contacts here, so anything, just drop us a line. Thank you.
Launched in 2021, the public-private partnership Key Digital Technologies Joint Undertaking was committed to reinforcing the EU's strategic autonomy in key enabling technologies, leading Europe to be a competitive leader of the world's digital economy. Its success paved the way for the present CHIPS joint undertaking. It is now time for a roundtable discussion to review the endeavors performed in past KDT projects and explore pathways to boost participation in the upcoming calls under CHIPS JU. To guide us through the conversation, please welcome on stage the advisor to the Portuguese Minister of Science, Technology and Higher Education for Semiconductors, Diogo Vaz.
Hello? Okay, perfect. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us here today, and also to thank people that are watching us online. I hope that we are live online, so that people can learn a little bit more about these new opportunities that we'll have here in Portugal within the framework of the CHIPS Act. So because we are running a little bit short on time, I would like to start by welcoming our guests that we'll have here today to debate some of the experiences and also some of the ideas revolving around these new opportunities that we will have within the CHIPS Act. So I would like to welcome on stage Paula Galvão, Filipe Borrego, Luísa Matos, José Gonçalves, and Elizabeth Steinert. So thank you all for coming and being here today with us. It's really good to have here a good distribution of people from research, people from companies, people from industrial associations. So I think we'll be able to get a good perspective on all of these new tools. So I'll maybe start by doing a sort of tour de table. So if everybody can just present themselves briefly and the institution that they are representing. We can start here with Paula.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Paula. I'm from INL, and I'm from the department that supports researchers in acquiring European funding. So the whole process, we cover the whole cycle from spotting calls, training, spotting the topics, the partners, the consortia, writing the proposals, managing the project. So we cover the whole life cycle. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Filipe Borrego. I come from Vortex Collab, so it's a collaborative laboratory on cyber-physical systems and cybersecurity. So as probably most of you know, a collab sits exactly in the middle between industry and academia. So we are there to help transfer knowledge from one side to the other and get information. Also, what is the trends, what our industry needs, so we can help them. So are exactly there in the middle of both. And I'm responsible for the competitive funding parts within Vortex.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Luísa Matos, CEO of CleanWatts. CleanWatts is a company based here in Portugal focus on creating and managing energy communities. And when we think about energy communities, we cover many aspects of energy communities, from managing the energy sharing among the communities, but also how we can optimize energy communities, optimize self-consumption, optimize and bring more efficiency to the members of the communities, and how we can then provide services to the grids by aggregating the assets from the energy communities. So we need to include a lot of IoT technology to be able to bring more smartness to these communities. And that's why I'm here, because smartness is coming from what you're discussing here today.
Smart is a good word to introduce EPOS and me. I'm Elisabeth Steinmetz from EPOS. EPOS is one of the 3 industry associations representing the private members in the CHIPS joint undertaking. So our community in EPOS is the Smart Systems and Smart Systems Integrators community. So we cover everything from the MEMS component up to the fully integrated smart sensor system. But I'm here on behalf of all 3 industry associations, also best greetings from my colleagues from INEAS and from Insight. And our role in the CHIPS joint undertaking, Anton mentioned it a bit, is of course we are preparing the strategy. So we are commonly creating the electronic components and systems roadmap for Europe, which is the basis for the work program. So we are not working, focus topics are a burden for us. I think we have all our areas covered in the ECSS RIA. The Commission asked us to work also on focused areas in the past years. But to be honest, this is not our favorite, because we believe that everything that is in the ECSS RIA should be a priority for Europe. And so we work on this part, and we try to represent not only industry, because we also RTOs are members of our associations.
Good afternoon. First of all, thanks for the invitation. My name is José Gonçalves. I come from CENTI. And CENTI is a Center for Nanotechnology and Smart Materials. Is a private, non-profit R&D institute. Is essentially an institute of new technologies with multi-sectorial orientations that promote activities in fields of smart and functional materials and systems. CENTI explore advanced technologies enabling the developing, testing, prototype, scale-up of technologies and solutions for the market.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for this introduction that also saved me a lot of work, because I would have to research a lot on your background. So I think we can all agree that the collaboration between industry and research institutions, and this has been kind of a landmark of all the advances we've seen in Europe for the last couple of years. So maybe we can start with José and then coming towards this side. What are some things that you have learned in the last couple of years regarding this collaboration and the importance of having companies and research institutions talking and having a strategy together? And how does that impact your work depending on the institution that you are representing? I mean, I think we've seen not only in semiconductors, but in also other sectors where this has been such an important aspect to basically lead markets, is to have this strong presence of research in industry. So if you have some examples that you could share with us regarding this matter, we would love to leave them.
So as a research and technological transfer center, CENTI presents innovation and R&D activities in several projects. We aim to developing new products with high added value. So in the past, we are involved in several national and international projects in different areas related to electronic components and systems. In particular, I want to make a relevance to the printed intelligence, printed electronics, sensing systems for different applications like health, mobility, automotive, packaging. So with this, we are also working in the smart systems, develop all the electronics, since the hardware, firmware, software of these solutions.
So maybe probably Elizabeth can give us also a more European broad overview.
Yes,
on,
if you look at the European situation, you can see where we are strong. These are areas where we are collaborating between industry and research from the beginning to the end up the values, where we have a complete value chain that we can cover. If we have only specific areas and niches, we are not that successful. So we have to close a bit our gaps that we have in the value chain. So if you look at the current situation in automotive, chips for automotive or chips for specific applications, power electronic, we are strong because we have worked on that together from the material up to the full system and we can cover everything. And there where we have the gaps, we have an issue. So, and one of the biggest issues that we currently see from EPO's perspective is a huge lack in the packaging that we currently, if we address now with the CHIPS Act, the front end, and we have 2 nanometer chips available or 7 nanometer, 5 nanometer FD-SOI, but we don't have the package for it and we have to send everything to Asia for packaging, well, we will not be successful. So we have to look at how can we close the gaps and how can we put specific emphasis on those things where we have strong weaknesses that can really destroy our business. And we have to be careful because we have this transformation of technologies. If you look at the automotive market, everything is going more from the hardware to the software. The electrification makes a lot of changes in the automotive industry in Europe, which is a kind of a threat, but also a chance. And so we have to see how we can get this done. Or the change in energy. If you look at the energy systems, and I look at my colleague here next to me, there's a huge transformation going on, and this transformation is a challenge for, and it all needs electronics. So we are in a good position that everything what will happen in the future will depend tremendously on microelectronics. Yeah. And so from that point of view, we should really look where are we good and why are we good in that. So, and I can give some examples. If you look, ASML is always given as an example, that they had funded projects for many years where they started together collaboration with other industrial partners up the value chain and prepared their equipment. Or FD-SOI is an example of a European success case, but it is not. If the Commission says we need a focus area, I say we had focus areas in Europe over the last years, over the last 10 years, 20 years, and these are the areas where we are good in power electronics, gallium nitride, silicon carbide, all these projects that we had one by one. So this one shot will not help us. We need a continuity of programs working in a direction. And from EPO's side, we have identified the green manufacturing technologies as one of our core things, the advanced packaging technologies. We have identified edge AI as a core element for the smart industry. So, and we should really see how can we build up projects one on another to reach our targets. And it's not a short-term disruptive thing. Yeah? If people dream always about disruptive technologies, but successfully, typically you build over 10, it takes always 10 years, sometimes 20 years. So I talked to a person about spintronics, around since 20 years, but now you have the breakthrough. Quantum technologies, they are since 20 years, but if you don't work on it for 20 years, you will not be successful. So but as the gentleman in the front said, we need to unify and we need to work together and not do this in this country and the other country does not know what is going on. So European approach is very important here. We have to team up.
Wonderful. I think that's a great message. And maybe from Louise, I think she can also probably give us a good perspective on how a company sees all of these initiatives and how can probably other companies also that are watching or are here present can probably benefit from these new programs.
Yes. So I'm a strong believer that collaboration between industry and research is key for the evolution of the society in many areas that we are working. So from CleanWatt side, and although it's kind of a newish brand in the market, I've been actually working on these topics over 15 years now. always with a strong collaboration with research institutions, bringing the knowledge, leveraging on the knowledge that is being built in the research institutions, and being able to bring that into products, solutions that actually go to the market, and try to become and turn that into scalable projects, scalable solutions that have a big impact in the society. So that's kind of our ambition. We have worked a lot with European funded programs, national programs to support our efforts, because whenever we are trying to develop something that is new, it's always very risky, right? So we have an element of risk that using this kind of incentives can help us to overcome and move more faster than what we would be able to move if we were just looking into internal, capital allocation for research. So it has been quite positive, and it's something that we want to continue doing. We can also, and the other side of things, so we bring the knowledge from the universities, from research institutes, but from the company side, we can bring also another layer which helps a lot to move faster in terms of research, which is real cases, real data from the market, from users, so we can deploy and test and validate faster the research that we are doing in a collaborative manner. So it's a win-win situation, basically.
Wonderful, thank you. Filipe, as the perspective of a collab that is maybe something a little bit more specific of Portugal, I don't know if this type of entity exists anywhere else in Europe, but what have you seen from your experience about the role of the collabs here in Portugal in driving this connection between companies and research?
The name collab, as far as I know, is very specific from Portugal, although it's inspired in 3 models that exist in Europe. One is the Fraunhofer, the other one is in Germany, the Catapult in UK, and the Carnot Institutes in France. So although the name is very particular in Portugal, I believe the model, the way of thinking of what is a collab was inspired in these 3 European examples, let's put it like this. So going to your question, and actually trying to be a bit more specific on the chips, JU, actually more on the KDT, the old partnership, or the name of the old partnership. The partnership still exists, just changed names. Because that's the experience we have. So Vortex has been, it was part of a project, the KDT project, that already finished, actually. It was Excel project. It was still Excel project that already finished. And what I can tell you from our perspective and what drives us to keep on participating in this call has to do with exactly what you're asking, the connection between research and industry. These programs have a huge participation of industry. They are actually the drivers of what we expect out of the projects, what they want to achieve out of these projects, and being able to be part of that ecosystem, understanding where industry is looking and what makes sense for them on the business perspective, because of course, in the end, it's all business. So from the business perspective, what interests them, where do they see the business going, and being able to be there, be part of the discussion, seeing the evolution, understanding where they are going and why, and being able to contribute, that's our driver. That's what we get out of it. Because then we can actually bring these ideas from the big industry in Europe and talk with our SMEs. Don't forget that Portugal, as most of the European countries have a huge majority. The companies in Portugal are SMEs or even smaller than startups, etc. And some of them, not all, I'm glad that there are very good cases that's not the case, but some of them have difficulty to also understand the big trends that the big industry is pushing. And this helps us help them on where the business can go, how can we drive and help them drive the business. So it also helps us to get in contact with these SMEs, to talk with them and see what we can develop together with this bigger objective that is the European and actually international trend, because Europe is not disconnected from the rest of the world. So that's basically how we try to drive the things in Portugal within the Vortex Collab, and I believe this is more or less transversal to all collabs in the different application areas, of course.
Wonderful, thank you so much. Maybe to close now the cycle from a research institution point of view, Paula, how have you seen these collaborations with industry coming up? And how do you think these new programs from, in particular, the Non-Initiative, can help further drive this important collaborations?
Okay, so this is exactly what I wanted to say, that your question is an old question. So I started working 25 years ago. I started working in a technology transfer department, and we were discussing how can we better translate technology to industry. 25 years later, we're asking the same question, okay? So this has to be, and this is not a one-shot answer because you have to see it at the different levels. So we have to see it at the political level, the policy level, the European level, okay? And the associations are doing their job and pushing for industry, reaching out to large industries. European Commission is also doing their job. Of course, like Professor Rodrigo said, we need more inclusion, more coordination, but I think the policy makers are well aware of that and are pushing for that. Okay, KDT is doing an excellent job in more oriented, more holistic, more targeted projects that reach the whole value chain. So INL has been participating in practically all calls since 2013, okay? So we've been there. And basically it is, what I see is, looking at the good points, more flexible, more large, holistic, targeted projects targeting the whole value chain, okay? So policy apart, okay, we have the funding mechanisms at the national level, okay, and I can say Anton is here, and Elizabeth is here also, I think. Oh, is it right? So Portugal has done an excellent effort in this CHIPS Undertaking call in getting us in. In other years, it would have not been possible, okay? So we've managed to get in pilot number 3, a small country. Okay, no bargaining power, but okay. But we managed to get in. Now, setting all that aside and going 25 years back and 25 years front, something that we're forgetting about is, in the case of RTOs and looking at the companies that are here, establishing technology transfer, we forget about the most simple but I think important element, which is personal relations. So this takes time, and you need to RTOs need to know that they need to build, and companies build relations with companies, right? It's a question of having strategies aligned, having interests aligned, having confidence, right? Reliance. And then, of course, we always have to be on the lookout of what's happening, be participant in the associations, look at what's happening out there. But I think we cannot forget the element of the personal relationships, because it's very important for technology transfer, and for having joint projects that could really reach industry. So, and we can have collabs, and we can have clusters, and we can have whatever, but if there's not trust, if there's not a personal relationship, reliability on the expertise, we cannot go anywhere. So I think the role of RTOs, yes, to be always on the lookout on the obligation they have towards industry and establishing these partnerships. And always, like I said, I think very important being on the lookout. And sometimes it's a bit of luck, being in the right place at the right time. That's all I wanted to say.
Perfect. Thank you so much. No, and I totally agree. And I think that even, I think the whole point in particular regarding semiconductors of the CHIPS Act was actually to unify a little bit the efforts that maybe many countries have been having for quite some time now. And I think, at least speaking from the Portuguese side, we felt this, European drive to also, wake up and kind of let's put our forces together, let's join in everything, and we truly believe that it's really now is the moment to do it. And that's why we think also that these, even these events that may seem not very important, but it's really relevant that companies know that this exists, that research institutions know that there are calls, that every single year we have basically new things coming up. So it's really good also to see people coming to these things and to try to learn more about them. So I think we have about 10 minutes, and I would like to open it for some questions. If somebody here has any question for our panelists or for the people that talked before, now is the time.
Data, and the data that you show looks like that from what the people are looking for, you are just, they are only getting 50% of the money. At least it was the data that, there are any special reason? If it is 50%, why they are asking so much, or there are any point to deal? And the other point is to do with what matters here. We are trying to look for, I just make the two questions. Is how we can be complemented. This is my feeling. I think we should not make a copy, because a copy is always worse than the original. And if you want to complement, and if you want to be a trust unit inside what the union represents for all of us, we must be breakthrough ideas. What are the complementary? What will be the strategy of our future? I believe that this is semiconductor. So what are the strategy? By sure, I can see the design. But there are other areas that goes for the nanos, and on this side, even for quantum computing. So what we will look for, what we have today or what we want for tomorrow? Because if it is for today, I think we are losing time.
Maybe I can just quickly, even though I'm the moderator, maybe I can also answer a little bit. No, I totally agree with the last part of the comments, specifically because, and I've been saying this for quite some time, we can't. There are a lot of fights that we can't win at the moment, and I think, for example, fabrication and all the story of fabs is one of them. But I do think that there are a lot of niches that we have to focus on and we need to dominate. And this is what we've seen at a smaller scale. The example of ASML has been given, I don't know how many times now in so many panels, but it's a good example of something quite specific that, the whole world is dependent on us. So I do really think that after, the whole CHIPS Act happens and the whole programs are applied, we need to have at least 10 more of these examples of things and specific technologies that the whole world is dependent on European technology. So I think this would be the best case scenario, I think, and of course, I don't think we can dominate everything. We have to be very selective, and we have to be the best at those very specific things. I don't know if...
I just wanted to ask you to give my comment on the second question that you asked, because I think if we would start really using what we have in Europe and not waiting for the Chinese to come and buy our innovative companies or US companies to buy whatever we have developed. So if we would be better in transferring our technologies that we have in universities in our industry, then we would be successful, I'm sure. Because if you look at what is currently state of the art somewhere else, a lot of these things have been developed in Europe. So I think that looking at what we have and enforcing our collaboration is an important part. Very general.
If I can also, it's a follow-up actually of what you were saying, Elizabeth. in my perspective, of course, you're completely right. If we applied everything that we developed in Europe, we would be far away. That's true. And we don't do it also because of a fear of failure. So we do have a lot of things in Europe that are good, but the mindset of the European citizens, that's actually the people, not only the governments, is a mentality that if something does not go well, is not a success, then it's a failure. And this is completely different when we look into the US. In the US, the idea is exactly the other one, is that you need to fail, because if you failed, then you learned, and now you're ready to succeed. And this is also a mentality in Europe that I believe needs to be changed. We need to be more open to failure, not only risk. We need risk, of course we do, but the risk comes with acceptance of failure. And until we take that into our mindset, we will always be at least behind of the US while they still have that approach. And I'm not sure how Asia is preparing themselves at the moment in regard of this mindset of being entrepreneur in one way, and at the same time accept failure as part of the learning process, not as part of being a failure.
Paulo, go ahead.
Something very short. So I don't think it's only related with failure. So I think the basic thing is, if we're talking now, because now we're changing subject, if we're talking about entrepreneurship, right? In the United States, a startup gets 2, 3, 4 million euros like this. You have our biggest unicorns that win and get money there. Some of them even only with proof of concept. So, okay, it's true that we're lagging behind, but one of the major things is the amount of money that's available in the United States for entrepreneurs is uncomparable with the one in Europe. Mindset in Europe is changing. We have the CHIPS fund. Let's see what's going to come out of that. Then we have other mechanisms that were launched before. So Europe finally found out that they have to put more money into entrepreneurs and startups, but we're still far behind. And I think it's a problem of money. How can a tech-based company grow if they don't have money to hire, to develop, to buy? So I think that's it.
Thank you. Maybe Mario wanted to, and then we have. Go ahead. Yeah.
Well, just to answer your question, actually, I will link it to what we have been hearing just now. The FCT for the non-initiative part, and I think this was like this in the past for Excel and KDT. I assume it will continue in the SHIPS GU non-initiative part. National funding covers 1/3. The EU covers the other third, and the last third comes from industry. And this is precisely, the reason for this is precisely to share the risk. So the idea is that we have this collaboration, and that industry takes a stake on the development of the project. So if they fail, I mean, they will share the burden. If they succeed, they will reap the benefits. So this is the spirit. You'll see that it will change a little bit when we come to the initiative part. For the competence centers, the share is 50-50. So the EU and the member state will share the burden. And there it's a public service, at least in the case of the competence centers. For the pilot lines, it's an important discussion. How can we have companies also being more involved in the pilot lines? And for the time being, the funding is also coming 50-50 from the EU and the member states. This is what we have in the regulation. This is what we expect to happen. But this is a very important issue that we need to be able to see how can we bring industry to the pilot lines, even if they are publicly funded. How can we push industries? Otherwise, we won't achieve the objective, which is to cover the transition from the lab to the fab.
I don't have exactly a question, but I would like to make a comment, since I need to to go in a couple of minutes. I was not involved within the design of the Ships Act, but since we have here some persons from the European Commission, is always good to add something or to try to use in the best way how these strategies have been designed. So from what I saw, not only from all the package that was built, but also with, for example, with the 6 calls related to the non-initiative part. I guess the idea is to try to boost Europe, not to try to do or design the super microprocessor, but for example, nowadays, semiconductors, in my opinion, they are more important than energy. Because, for example, for energy supply, we have alternatives, but concerning semiconductors, we don't have alternatives. So if someone in the world stop to send some specific type of devices, we will stop. So what Europe must do in terms of semiconductor is, and since nowadays every product has a minimum of intelligence, medical devices, automotive, whatever, everyone around us will have, some of them they have incorporated already inside these products some microchips, not the highest technology, but we need to see in Europe what are the industries that they will use and they will need these specific chips and to work on it, not to do what the others are doing in a very good way. And this takes decades for us to reach, but to see where the industry in Europe is quite good, what type of products, what is the strengths in terms of industry in Europe, and try to put all these semiconductors on these products, because every single product that is around us will have a chip in the future. They are intelligent, more or less intelligent, but I guess this is also the idea about all this initiative was not to do what try to do in a better way what the other countries are already doing for decades, but also to see where Europe is good, is strong in industry, and try to add all this intelligence to all the products that we are designed, made, and made by Europe. So this is a little bit what I think, and this is why also for these non-initiative calls, a strong advice is given concerning automotive, because as you know, our cars nowadays, they need to have a lot of integrated circuits, and you need to, and some of them, even for other devices, in some of these specific chips, we don't need to go to 2 nanometers or 1 nanometer technology. So this is a little bit what we need to think and to do where we are good in Europe. Otherwise, we will lose, and at the end, the Ships Initiative, we will not have the success as it was planned at the beginning. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think our time is up. Paula is nodding, so I think we have to wrap up. I would just like to finish up by saying again that regarding all of these calls, regarding all of the programs that we will have in the next couple of years regarding the CHIPS Act, please consult as much as possible our lovely entities. They are here to help, both ANI and FCT. They will be sort of in charge of all of these programs, and I think they will be very happy to help you with your questions. And please participate. We're also making a big effort at a governmental level, let's say, to bring these things to the companies and the research institutions in Portugal. So please use them, please ask questions, and yeah, I would also ask you to a round of applause to our speakers. And we can go.
Today, we had the opportunity to explore the joint European effort towards strengthening Europe's semiconductor ecosystem and to look into the concerted action led by Portugal as a participating state of the CHIPS JU. This session is part of that endeavor and an exciting preview of the upcoming adventures. To close an insightful session, we have the pleasure of inviting on stage the president of the Portuguese Foundation for Science and Technology, Madalena Alves.
Hello. Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to thank the speakers for the presentations on EU SHIPS Act, the SHIPS JU calls, and the national co-funding mechanisms. Also, the members of the discussion panel, I thank them, the audience for the questions, and a special note of appreciation to the Office of CHIPS JU, particularly to Anton Shiskov, is that okay? For traveling to Braga in such short notice and for sharing with us information about the EU SHIPS Act and the ongoing and planned SHIPS JU calls. This is, in fact, the second time that we welcome the SHIPS JU office at INL, and the third time that we welcome you in Portugal in less than 6 months. So thank you for your availability, for being here today, your continued support and dedication to the Portuguese participation in the SHIPS JU is indeed very much appreciated. I would like also to thank the private members of the SHIPS JU, represented here by Elizabeth from EPOS Association. We thank you not only for coming in person to Braga, but especially for all the efforts that the association and the other associations that can make to further, that can evolve or further involve Portuguese companies and research organizations in the definition of the strategic research and innovation agenda and to support their successful integration in European consortia. So thank you, Elizabeth. FCT is proud for having supported the Portuguese electronics components and systems community through Excel and KDT, with some difficulties and challenges, as we know, but also, we hope, with important improvements in the way that the co-funding mechanisms was implemented over the years. The national strategy on semiconductors provides the strategic guidance and the budgetary framework to build up on the success of Excel and KDT and to further develop a thriving semiconductor ecosystem in Portugal. We count on the commitment of everybody and hard work to achieve its ambitious goals and to make sure that Portugal continues to grow as an important partner at European and international levels. In that context, FCT will serve its part and continue to work in close collaboration with National Innovation Agency, the regional funding agencies and funding agencies from other countries to make sure that the combination of national and regional funds, EU funds, and private investments continues to leverage and empower the impact of Portuguese research organizations, academia, and companies in the growth of the SHIPS and semiconductor ecosystem. We will continue to support you not only for participating in research and innovation projects, as you have been mostly doing in the past, but also to attract, train, and retain the best talent, to broaden the access and to maximize the use of the pilot lines and the design platform. The competence center will be key to that, of course, but it will require an active involvement as well as of all the key stakeholders within and outside Portuguese borders. We wish you the greatest success in the 2024 SHIPS JU calls. We thank the SHIPS JU office and the private members for their support to Portuguese participants, and we also count on all of you to help us shaping the future SHIPS JU work programs and calls. So thank you very much. I think I will pass to Annie now. Thank you.
And finally, to close, a word from the Advisor for Strategy and Internationalization at ANI, Anabela Carvalho.
So thank you so much. And I'm just speaking in the name of the board of ANI. They are foreign in another country, but it's a pleasure to be here. Above all, it's a great pleasure. And above all, we have to thank INL for such efficiency in setting all this framework, all the event, in welcoming all of us in this, again, in another discussion that we need still to build, as Paula was saying, trust. And as ANI and as FCT, we are, at the end of the day, national contact points. We are national representatives, so we have to build trust with our community. And these events are fundamental for this building of trust. So for us, the most challenging part is that now we are going a step further in the development of this community. We have the commitment from the government, we have a strategy. So we have a vision and an ambition. And with this vision and ambition, ANI, FCT, and the regional agencies, we have to put the effort to go forward in the co-fund. And this is something that we really need to work together with you. We need to do the right representation with the SHIP-JU. We need to work together. We need to work with Elizabeth and all the industry associations. We need to put the right words in the work programs. And then we need to work at the national level to co-fund the best way. Synergies. This is something that is always at the top of the table. So we have the strategy with 120 million. There's a lot of money, yes, but more than money, more than numbers, there's competitiveness. And this is something that we at ANI are very keen of. So I didn't read my speech, I'm sorry for this, but I just want to acknowledge, honestly, and to our panel that was just here, and in name of our president of ANI and on the board, thank you so much for being here with us. We are NCPs, we are national representatives, so please come to us, speak with us, and tell us that we are not doing our job, if we are not doing our job. And please help us helping you to set the tone, to deliver the right words, and then to apply the best way possible. And thank you so much.